Hey there, today I'm going to be talking about a recent ruling that changes how I've been playing and a clarification we have received from Atomic Mass Games Rules Forum. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. So I want to start by saying that I don't plan on covering rules clarifications often, either because they are newer rulings on newer releases, or because the explanation is very straightforward 99% of the time. This is that 1% because it is a clarification from something that we've had since the very beginning of the game. Now, before I dive in too deep, I want to give a shout out to the guild's sponsor, Tritex Games. Their pre-order prices take 20% off of retail, and then you can use the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout for an additional 5% off for a total of 25%, which is really solid. As well, thanks to Tritex, I'm able to do a monthly giveaway. To enter, all you need to do is leave a comment down in the description of the video and be subscribed to the channel. And actually, at the end of this video, there will be a drawing for just that. With all of that said, I'm going to be talking about two specific threads that have gotten answers earlier this week that either change what I have held to be the common perception or sets a reinforced understanding of what is and isn't allowed. The first one I'm going to be talking about is one that you may have already seen another podcast, article, or even another video talk about already, and that is re-rolling dice. Something that you have seen me do plenty of times and my opponents do plenty of times during a battle report, and admittedly we do it a little bit out of order there sometimes for the ease of rolling dice on a camera, but we usually try to do it in such a way that it actually wouldn't affect the outcome. But this ruling is likely going to change that. So after a question has come up about when paid rerolls are supposed to be paid for, Goldar, on one of the two main moderators for the forum, has responded with this. Effects that trigger when rolling attack or defense dice will trigger and be paid for after that step occurs. This will be at the end of step 6 for special rules that trigger when rolling attack dice, and at the end of step 7 for special rules that trigger when rolling defense dice. Now, as a reminder, because I think we could all use a refresher on this one, this is what the timing chart looks like that he is referencing. It can easily be found in the back of your rulebook that came with the core set or your online PDF rulebook. But even this is a basic outline of that chart, and you can get a much more detailed version of this chart on pages 25 and 26 of the online rulebook currently, which is what you are looking at now. So, from what Goldar has stated, that the timing of rolling attack or defense abilities will trigger during steps 6 and 7 respectively, instead of step 9A, which is when I, and at the very least the large majority of players, have been paying and performing their rerolls. So now I'm going to answer these three questions. Why does it matter? Whose abilities does it affect? And who isn't affected by this? Starting from the top, why does this matter? And I am, of course, talking about the dice. I'm sure there's a whole another black hole we could dive down about a large revelation coming to what I can only assume is a large majority of players a year and a half into the game, including the devs themselves on some of their streams, but that's not what I'm looking to dive into. Rather, what does this new clarification mean for us when rolling the dice? So the rerolls themselves do not happen until step 9, but they will have to be paid for in advance by both the attackers and defenders, which means there is some guesswork that needs to be done. Let's say I attack with MODOK's Mystic Builder, who can spend X power to reroll X number of dice. My target, Scarlet Witch, only has 2 stamina left, but has 4 Mystic Defense. So let's say in MODOK's attack roll, I roll 2 crits, a hit, 2 blanks, and a skull. Now, before I resolve my crits, I have to determine how many rerolls I want. This means I don't get to see the defender's dice and what I need to overcome to deal those last 2 points of damage. And while I know I may want to spend at least 2 power to reroll my blanks, should I maybe spend a 3rd or even 4th preemptively in case one of my crits is a block or a blank? And it only gets crazier when you begin to stack these paid rerolls with something like Shuri's Upgrades ability. So basically, it now means that when you're paying for rerolls, you may end up over or underspending because there is no longer perfect information most of the time when spending power or other resources for rerolls. So who and what is affected by this ability? Or this revelation, rather. Shuri's upgrades, Modoc's P-Brain rerolls, and Beast, Stars, and Garters are the who's that are affected, and the what's that are affected are the Guardians and the Wakandan leadership abilities. So all in all, thankfully there aren't too many things that are actually getting touched by this addendum. As for those that aren't touched and are remaining unchanged in their timing, well, it's more than I really care to go through to list all of them, but here's a couple of examples. Any of the attacks that let you reroll dice as a part of the attack, like Captain Marvel's Energy Blast or Magneto's Reverse Polarity, any innate superpower rerolls like Spider Senses, advanced or otherwise, and abilities like Deadpool's I Know Karate and all of the Inhumans' Inhuman innate superpower. So that is the new understanding explained, and to be honest, it doesn't feel very intuitive, and it is why up until this week, we've all been playing the ways we already have been. So possibly keep your eyes on the FAQ that usually gets dropped with every character release to see if these few abilities get an extra errata to either help clarify this new timing or to put them back into step 9 where we've been playing them anyways. At the very least, I hope we get something one way or the other to make it easier, because this just upped the complexity budget of these characters quite a bit. Thankfully, we have an awesome community here in MCP land, and Appendix Z has already made a couple of great reference charts for exactly how and when the different rerolls take place. His flowcharts are the ones you have been seeing in this video, and if you want to take a closer look at any of these or any of his other work, I highly recommend his flowcharts. They're fantastic for understanding some of the more complex and not necessarily intuitive mechanics in the game, and I'll have a link down to his page in the description. Now, this other thread I want to talk about isn't changing anything or our perceptions of the game or anything like that at all, but I know that the wording on some of the posts have confused me to the point where I had to ask further questions, so I figured after discussing with Nigoldar and getting clarifications from Will Pagani from the Rules Forum that I would share my findings here so that hopefully there will be less confusion going forward, and it's all about measuring and movements. This is a picture of all of the initial questions and answers, mostly all dealing with using a character base as a measuring tool, which is not allowed. Can you please give a clear-cut example of what you mean by using the base as a measuring device? If the base is used to measure a distance, it is being used as a measuring device. Is it okay to place your movement template, then place your mini, then check to see if it is within range of an objective before you decide on the model's movement or what would be considered using the base as a measuring tool? No, still not allowed. Number 3, if number 2 is not correct, then how does one make sure that they are in range of an objective without using the base as a measuring tool? To which we'll this is where it gets confusing for me at least, says a player cannot do this with 100% certainty without using the base as a measuring device. And we'll probably dig into this a little bit more. And finally, 4 is if you know you have enough movement to make a move and you just so place the range ruler, say within range 1 of an objective, and just place the mini, you are not using the base as a measuring device. And of course, always use the movement tool because you always have to actually measure it out even if you know you're in range. Again, this is something you've seen me probably shortcut a couple of times, but it's usually because I've pre-measured. So the one I want to focus on here is number 3, because a player not being able to be 100% certain without using the base as a measuring device seems a little bit funky, because surely you have an idea of what an inch looks like, what the range 1 looks like, and like if you're placing your character directly on top of the objective, you're going to know that you're within range 1. But I think what Will Pagani here is trying to really get at is until you place the character onto the table, there's no way to be certain. So because I wanted to make sure I and others aren't side of the rules, I followed up with my own question with some pictures about if this move is a legal use of the tools for measuring purposes. And thankfully, it is fine. But basically, once the model has left the table, the measurement tools cannot be moved. And once Okoye has landed on the table, she cannot be repositioned. So if in the picture above I was actually just short after placing Okoye onto the table, she is simply stuck there. No repositioning or anything else to be done about it. So basically, be ready to commit to a move, because once the model is off of the table, they will have to land somewhere along where you have the movement tool placed. And once that model is on the table, there isn't any fidgeting to get it just right. Where they land is where they land. Now, of course, in a friendly, chill game, you always can talk to your opponent about your intent and do whatever you're trying to do, or heck, maybe even do a rewind, a do-over, whatever you want to do. You get what you want out of the game. So on a Tuesday night at the game store, I'm all for doing a few do-overs and learning new characters, mechanics, and so on. But at the same time, if you go into a bigger event, don't be surprised if your opponent is more strict about these kind of interactions. Now that is all of the nitty-gritty rules stuff out of the way, I'm now going to send it over to my future self and do the drawing for June's giveaway.
Okay, here I am in the future, and we hit the start button. We are going to get Matthew. I still need to pick up the base set, but that sand cap looks super cool to play. Looking forward to getting into this game. Well, man, I hope that this giveaway makes getting in even a little bit easier, and who knows, you might even just get exactly that sand cap, or maybe some new Spider-Man characters. You got plenty of options. So, Matthew, I'm going to be reaching out to you, and if you see this, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
And that is everything I have for today. Congratulations to insert name here, and at the end here I want to give an extra special thank you to all of the members of the Guild Hall who are supporting what I am doing with the channel. There are always more and more things I am wanting to do, and because of this extra support, I'm actually getting to do some of those things, including a impromptu making myself do it, because I've told you guys I'm going to do it, and so keep me accountable if I don't do it. By the end of July, I'm actually going to start covering a board game that has some Marvel expansions soon in its future. If you want to take a gander or a guess or whatever, let me know down in the comments, and that can also count as your giveaway entry for this month. As well, if you are interested in supporting the Guild's channel, check out the links down in the description to the Guild's Patreon page and Tritex Games page, where you can use that discount code to let them know I sent you their way. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.